Okay, test. We're going live here. Microphone's working. Series speakers are working. If anyone is here and you have your audio set up, give me a confirmation if you can hear. That would be great.
I can hear.
Over and out. Very good. Good to have those of you that are joining here. We have 30 and counting. I appreciate those of you who are here being here. I am going to ask a few things real quickly. Number one, we are recording this. It will get posted on YouTube. So, just share things that you're comfortable generally being shared at large. And then beyond that, I will ask those of you who are not speaking to mute yourself because otherwise it creates interference with the communication. We do have one core hour that I know I can perform, and then after that, I may have to leave shortly thereafter. So we're going to ask that your questions are quick, and I'm going to try to give quick, concise answers, and I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Ralph D'Souza, I believe you're the very first fellow that showed up here. Ralph, if you want to rock and roll with your question, if you have one, now would be that moment. Ralph, you are muted, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Jason. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir. How can I help you,
Okay.
sir? What's going on?
Okay. So I live in Canada, in Vancouver, and I was wondering, and I'm of the understanding that your program is out of the US, correct?
I specialize in helping Americans, U.S. citizens in particular, buy businesses here in the States. But I can advise, I can give you some general points of view as far as buying businesses in Canada. Yes, but
Sure.
am I a specialist in operating in the country of Canada? No, not like I am here in the States.
Okay. So I would basically want to know if you have any members from Canada in your program.
I've worked with several people in Canada, but I am not actively looking to admit folks from Canada just because there are some nuances as far as how the financing works, and I don't have firsthand experience with it. If you wanted me to help you, it's something we could explore. But in the context of this conversation, looking to mainly be about just answering questions. If you have questions about working with me, let's discuss that, on a separate kind of call with my team or something to that effect.
Okay.
In other words, I don't want this to be a sales-based conversation. I'd much rather it be like just nuts and bolts. Like, how can I help you with your deal? Do you have anything you'd like to ask in that context?
Not really, no.
Over now. Very good. Appreciate it. And happy to be in touch.
Thanks.
Sean Swilly, my man. Sean, how are you, sir? You're up, and let her rip. John, you're muted. By the way, when you step up to the microphone, you have to unmute. Let's rock and roll.
There we go. I know it's been a while since you and I talked, probably I think 2021. And I appreciate you at that time kind of giving me a jump start. I moved to Nevada, found an industry expert here. He's been in the business a little over 40 years. He started out as an administrator like I did, worked his way up for two different companies, one regional, one national, as a regional administrator, at one point running 15 other facilities. When I found him, he had just built his own skilled nursing facility for pediatrics, and he opened up a behavioral services for pediatrics, and I'm the administrator at that building.
Okay.
Let's see, it was in September. I did find an owner in September. They own 4 in Nevada. They have residential facilities for groups. They're homes. They would be in a residential area. They can license them for up to 10 beds. And this particular owner wanted to sell. He wants out. They've been running it since 2001.
John, I like this. Get to the question, and I say that with respect, just because I want to answer as many questions as I possibly can. I'm on something at a time.
Okay.
What is
the question I have, he wants to do the sale,
okay,
but he wants to retain 51% of the owner's equity.
Do you want to be a glorified employee? That's the question I think you have to ask yourself. If you're the 49% guy, you are a glorified employee. Now, you have an equity kicker, certainly, ostensibly a meaningful one. But if you're under that 51% threshold, then at that point in time, you are effectively a glorified.
Just a glorified administrator.
Yes, you are. That's what that means.
Okay.
All right.
Well, then I did the right thing. I haven't talked to him for probably 3 weeks. I never got an NDA back. I sent him a list of questions and documents that I needed to get to an accountant that's on my team.
Yep.
I never got that, so I just moved on. I'm looking for
Move on.
somebody else that's
Move on.
hungry, that wants to sell.
Yes, move on. You're looking for people who want to sell their business, all of the shares, or at least the vast majority of the shares.
Right.
Is my general recommendation. I mean, assuming you want entrepreneurship, if you want glorified, be a glorified employee. By the way, Mr. Bing, thank you for burping for all of us here, the 50 folks, whatever we have this here. Folks, if you're not up to the microphone, mute yourselves. All right, let's have a little common decorum. I'm trying to get to as many of you as y'all can. Punchline there, Sean, is deal flow. We need more deal flow. We can talk more about that if you all have questions about deal flow.
And that's what I'm working on.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going through your modules, and I believe I remember there's a website or two websites where I can get the owners' names, and I'm going back through the modules and I'm looking for that information.
Zoom Info, Rocket Reach, and Reference USA. Zoom Info and Rocket Reach are paid options. Reference USA is a free option. Naturally, the more you pay, the more you kind of get play there. The other one that is useful for all of you, and then I'm going to move to Ann Luong and then Joel McGraw. Sean, it's been a pleasure. The one other thing that you can do is many industries have government-based websites, especially for those industries that are licensed.
That's where I got my list.
That's in many cases where you're going to find a great list and a free list so that you can really go from there. And then, of course, there's LinkedIn searches. Right. Good stuff. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And
let's be in touch. Ann Luong, if you're there, it is your moment. How are you doing, Ann? And can I help you?
I don't have a particular question, and I'm just curious if in this interest rate, and I get curious if everyone's still doing very active in this buying space, and what the better industry to be in right now. Like, it seems like lots of industry are actually suffering at the moment.
Yeah, there's certainly, I can tell you that what happened back in 2021, people thought that 2021 was great because rates were at 0%. That was more the problem than where rates are now, in my opinion, because what happened with the 0% rate environment is the money was so cheap that people just paid disproportionately high prices for businesses. Now that rates are back where historically they've been, I mean, if you look back at the 80s and the 90s, for example, where rates are now, it's actually quite a normal time. I mean, it's nothing compared to where we were in the 80s, for example. Some of you have memories of that. Other of you who are younger don't, or at least directly. But as far as your direct question of like what industry should you be in the context of high rates, I understand what you're asking, but I think the more pressing question is what industry is recession resistant, will do well irrespective of who's in the White House, will do well no matter what happens economically or otherwise. What business won't get destroyed by Amazon? What business won't get destroyed by AI? What business has a unique competitive advantage in its local market? Looking at businesses from that context, I believe is the right way to go about it. And then from that perspective, if you look at enough deals, you'll find some that are priced to sell. At the end of the day, the motivated seller is the variable, because a motivated seller will sell at a price point that works within the context of where rates currently are, which, rates are higher than they certainly have been. But I don't think it's rates themselves that are killing things as far as where they are now, as much as I think having the money printer massively engaged like it was in 2020 and 2021 with all the stimulus money, there's still memories of when you just got these insane valuations. So that would be my response. But Ann, I would think industry-wise, if you're going to proceed with buying businesses in the context of what business would you feel comfortable owning for a decade or more? That's really what I would say. One thing I'm going to do for those of you that have questions, there's a hand raise feature that you can use on this. If you have questions so that I can spend as much time as possible answering questions, use the hand raise feature or drop a chat so that I can get to those of you that have direct questions. And again, if you have questions, let's be ready to rock and roll. I am going to go to the chat here and see if we have any questions here, as opposed to just picking randomly.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to interrupt. One more.
All right, you got a question? What do you got, Ann? Absolutely.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Are you?
I've got time to argue with you. Just pack this stuff.
Mark Morgan, we're going to mute you. Ann, did you have a question, or was that not a question?
Yes. I'm just curious. If I remember, I think I had your course too. I bought your course. And then I am just curious regarding the industry. For SBA financing, and if you must be in, if you doing, you must be have the like experience in the industry in order to get financing for the SBA, or or if you just had the general of business experience.
Got it. Absolutely. So the punchline with making sure you can do a deal in a given industry, if you do not look, if you have industry experience, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Thank you, Conrad Caldera. Okay, Ann. If you have direct industry experience, that's the easiest. And this is for everybody here. If you don't, then I really recommend you bring on an advisor who has 10, 20, 30 years of experience. Give this individual 2 or 3 points of equity and build a good relationship with this individual, not just from the context of getting the financing, right? Yeah, we want the financing, but it's more about once you own this thing, let's make sure it's successful. Having the experience of somebody who's been on your team for 20, who has 20, 30, 40 years of experience, that's a great foundational piece to have in your deal team to help you be successful. And SBA lenders will look at that because what they want to see is you have the foresight and the wisdom to know what you don't know, right? SBA lenders want to do deals. They need to get money out in the marketplace in order for them to get their bonuses and their loan origination fees and for them to profit in their business model, right? Lenders want to give you money, but you just have to position yourself in a way that gives them enough confidence for them to feel comfortable doing so. And so in that regard, and the number one thing that I did, because I didn't have plumbing or air conditioning experience yet, I've done multiple deals in those respective industries. And the way I did that and the way others are doing that is by building a team of experienced advisors, one of whom has direct industry experience. And ideally, if you're in a licensed trade, your advisor has the licensing in the given state or states that you're buying businesses in. That's the cherry on top, because then they understand that your team not only has the direct industry experience, but also has the licensing credentials to make sure that you can operate professionally and legally in that given state. So those would be the main points I would say. I do appreciate it, Ann, and evidently we need to do more of these. We got questions here. Joel McGraw. Joel, it's been a pleasure, man. I saw you, we were talking last week. Joel, how can I help you? And if you have questions, use the hand raise feature like Joel did, and I'll answer more of them. But Joel, how's it going? How can I help you?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so this is now my second week, and I think I'm up to module 5, maybe 6. I can't remember. Based on what you're I've got feedback. Based on what you're saying in the modules, I actually got half of my well, a third of my M&A team so far. I have an accountant.
Good. That's a nice start.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. He's an author. He's almost retirement age.
Good.
It almost sounds like you were describing him.
I love it.
And this is the question. The question is, I'm already finding deals that I kind of want to chase, but I don't know if that's putting the cart before the horse.
It is. I understand. You're describing what I call young man's enthusiasm. And look, young man's enthusiasm is a good thing, but it has to be controlled. So in that context, Joel, and we'll talk about this more. By the way, this is meant to just be a free FAQ. I notice almost everyone here who's asking questions has worked with me at some point, which it's great to see those of you who have worked with me, and I appreciate you being here. But I just want you to know this is Joel, like this isn't our core regular kind of like exclusive calls, which have obviously much less individuals than we have here. So excuse me for being more brief, and the same goes for some of you that have asked questions. The reason I'm being brief is just because I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can. We'll do our membership calls, Joel, and we'll talk about it more. But the punchline is follow this. My recommendation is finish building your deal team in its entirety, and having that professional team that's built, as we talk about, and as we'll talk about more on the next call, you use that momentum to carry you into getting the best deal flow. Because a lot of what I believe works, and I see works, besides making out, sending emails or making off-market calls to private business owners, is connecting with brokers and trying to get their pocket listings, not just the ones that are hosted on BizBuySell or BizQuest or one of these kind of online forums. And when you have a professional deal team behind you, because they're going to ask questions, right? If you talk to a broker, they're going to ask questions about who you are and what you've done and what your experience is. Because if a broker has a deal, they don't want to just give, the deal to any Jack and Jill, or any Joe Schmo, right? So having that full professional deal team is going to give you that extra credibility and provide you with a better platform to actually access the best deals. And then more importantly, Joel, to actually know what to do with the deal once you have it. Like one of the worst things that can happen in my mind is you do all this hard work of finding a great deal, and then you don't have you're not positioned to actually close, right? You have this great deal, and anyone who's been around with this process for a minute knows that these deals, they don't last forever. A good deal is a hot commodity, and if you found a great deal, somebody else would love to take it from you and buy it themselves, right? So when you find that great deal, it's so important to be positioned properly, ready to rumble, if you will, and have all your ducks in a row. And so in that context, I certainly recommend building out your deal team in full before you proceed on to the subsequent steps. And we'll talk more in more detail on our upcoming call, Joel, but that's the short of it. I would keep doing the great work. You got a good start. And by the way, one thing more, Joel, and this goes for anybody else building a deal team. Now that you have the accountant basically wrapped up, when you speak to, if you're speaking to a lawyer or you're speaking to an industry expert, make sure to share with the industry expert or the lawyer respectively, hey, we already have our accountant, we're now recruiting these other positions, but you're using the momentum of our deal team already has momentum, and we're going to carry this momentum forward, right? Like getting the first one's the hardest part. Once you get the first individual, now somebody's bought into you, and without you having to pay, right? They've bought into you for equity. So that's buy-in. That's real. That's like your first big win. And so what you want to do from there is basically just roll that momentum into getting the other individuals that you're after. So that would be my recommendation. And with that, real quickly, last 20 seconds, if you got something, Joel, and then we're going to go to Diego, to Darius, and to Brad, Flip, Market, and Colin Barrymore. Joel, in 30 seconds or less, anything else at this moment?
I just wanted to say thanks.
No, hey, thank you. Appreciate you being here. And we'll talk on the next call. Okay, Diego, Diego C, are you there?
Hey, Jason. Yeah, I'm here.
Good deal. How can I help you and what's going on?
Awesome. So first time on the call, I've seen a lot of your content. I've worked my way to getting my accounting and financial expert and industry expert on the team.
Great.
Currently interviewing for the legal expert, but I've already signed on an outside legal agency for representation.
Okay.
And I'm guessing, is there, in your opinion, would there still be a need for that in-house counsel at this point? Or would it be fine to just work exterior only?
You don't have to answer this, but do you have an abundance of personal liquidity? In other words, is money an issue for you, or do you have an abundance of it? And look, I mean, you don't have to answer that, but you're welcome to, as an aside.
It's definitely at the bootstrapping phase. I don't have, the liquid capital to be able to pay everything up front.
Okay, easy enough. So then my answer to you is, look, the problem with using third-party legal firms, and there's people that talk on the internet about buying companies, and I'm not here to talk negatively about others, but I am here to talk about, my experiences and what I've seen work and what I've seen not work. And what I can tell you is, these outside firms that ostensibly are going to work on a success fee basis. By the way, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. Appreciate it. Trying to keep the quality high. So these outside firms, the fees you're going to rack up using an outside firm for a $1 to $5 million deal, those fees are going to get really big really fast. I know a number of individuals who have used the third-party law firm, and then they get hit with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in legal fees pretty darn quick. And those law firms are pretty aggressive about invoicing you, and I've just seen it go south pretty regularly. So unless if you're somebody that has a lot of liquidity, a lot of cash, and you want to trade time for money because you have a lot of money and you want to move fast, my general belief is get the attorney in-house, give them a little bit of equity. If you're trying to bootstrap, the equity way is the way. Take it from a guy who bootstrapped myself 4 or 5 years ago when I was completely broke, and that's exactly what I did. I bootstrapped it by building a deal team, including the lawyer that I compensated with equity. And then you get rid of the fees and you get rid of the pressure of, look, even if you're able to negotiate a success fee basis or a deferred payment structure, which for those of you that don't quite know, this is basically the idea of I'm going to have the law firm do legal services for me now, and then I'm going to pay that law firm in, once the deal closes or in 90 days or something. Well, great, but that time will come, right? And when it does, that $50,000 legal bill, which that can happen much easier than you think, that's a big nut to swallow, right, when you're just coming out of the gates. And so, yeah, undoubtedly, I would candidly, I would can the external firm if you're bootstrapping, and I would finish the job. It sounds like you've done a great job of building a deal team by and large. I would finish what you've started and get that law firm, or not law firm, that lawyer, not law firm, that individual lawyer on your team. And then another thing that happens when you build your deal team internally is you build rapport and you build a common understanding of how you like to do deals. You build your own templates, your standard LOI, your standard purchase agreement, a lot of these standard contracts, and your lawyer knows what your ambitions and goals are. They know operationally what your challenges are. So maybe you have a licensing thing you want to solve, or you like getting the working capital or the age receivables. Like when you have your internal lawyer, he understands or she understands what you're solving for. So that internal knowledge within your deal team becomes really, really valuable. Whereas if you're using a firm and then you're using, given partner at the firm, and then that partner goes to a different firm, now you have to reestablish that working relationship with the new partner, and you have to re-explain what your ambitions are, and the guy's probably running the clock on you. Look, there's a lot of reasons why I really prefer doing it in-house, especially when you're starting. Once you get bigger and you have a lot of revenue, it's a different gravy. At that point, look, using third-party fees could be the right choice. And at this point in my career, we mostly use, almost exclusively now, we use third-party services. But when I was scaling in the early stages, I gave equity because I was broke. And that was the only thing I had to give without putting too much pressure on the business too early. So hopefully that answers your question. And that's a common one for a lot of you. So hopefully that adds some value. Darius is, I know you, buddy. How's it been? And you're up next, and then Colin, Brad Flippett, and we're on from there. Darius, how can I help you, partner, and how goes it?
Yeah. What's going on? With me, I'm gonna keep it quick. It's age receivables, man. We got a company right now. We're looking at the purchase agreement, and he's really hammering out the terms for like the age receivables. He doesn't just want to give it up. He doesn't just want to give up the age receivables. So they sent something back today and was like, well, we'll give up the age receivables as like a loan.
Let's talk about this. Okay.
Yeah. Because for him, it's like, well, it's money I've earned while I was here. Fine. We'll give you age receivables up to 4 months. But as a loan, so that, okay, yeah, the company's still gonna go there, but it's still a loan back, So yeah. I was like, well, I'm trying to see, have you ever dealt with that, or what should I say to some crap like that? So
okay, so a few things. Firstly, for those of you that are unfamiliar, age receivables are monies that it's money a business is owed for services it's already performed.
Yeah.
Age payables are monies that a business owes for products or services it's already used. Those are the two most important key terms to understand when you're looking at a company's balance sheet, arguably. So those are two: age receivables, age payables. Know what they are. It's a really important 1-2 punch to understand. Okay, now that we have a basic understanding of what AR, age receivables, is, AR for short. I mean, let me ask you this, Darius. Is the valuation, is the guy otherwise reasonable with the valuation? Like, is the price, is he being real flexible on the other terms and price?
Yeah, as far as the price, I mean, we're already down. I mean, he's flexible in the business, but he I guess after that he was like, well, now they're gonna get the work that I've already done. He's flexible. Once we present the numbers, hey, this is what it's worth. He wanted, well, right. He wanted a certain number. We brought it down a little bit because of the actual evaluations, but now he's like, well, hey, this is work that's been done. He's like, I don't want to just give it to you, because in our purchase agreement, they're handling the AP. He was like, great, but okay, he wants the age receivables with that, and I was like, well, no, we need that because, hey, the company needs to thrive while you're not there. When they came back to us, it was, well, I would rather give it to you as a loan.
I got it. Here's what you can do. I got you. So in other words, what I'm hearing is the guy's generally reasonable, but on this item, it's a hard one for him to swallow.
Yeah, because it's work for him. Yeah, he was like, well, when I was there, this was the work that already been.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So then, absolutely. So in that regard, I think how you present it really matters. This is more a marketing question or a how to relate to this guy question than it is anything else. I mean, for example, you might be willing, and it might make good sense to pay a little more. Let's say he has $250,000 in age receivables. It might make sense for you to pay $150,000 more on the purchase price to get the age receivables, for example. In other words, and I really believe this, I would rather or somebody, if you're bootstrapping and this needs to work for you, I would much rather you, for your own good, not for my good, of course, overpay slightly, but get good terms. Like it's one, I would rather you slightly overpay, but have cash flow, because that's really what this conversation is about. For those of you that maybe don't quite understand, we're talking about making sure that the business has money coming in the days and weeks and months right after close. In 30 seconds, I'll tell a story. I remember I bought the first plumbing business I did back 3.5 years ago, whatever it was. And I didn't have the AR, the age receivables. And I remember it was right around Christmas time, and I was giving out Christmas bonuses to everybody, telling them, you know, how great things were going to be, and we were going to take over the world and conquer the universe. And between you, me, and the apple tree, I barely even had money to make payroll the following Friday, because I didn't buy the age receivables. So I'm paying money out. I'm making payroll every Friday. The money isn't coming in yet, or at least not in the amount of, you know, in the abundance that I was looking for. So that's what happens when you don't include the aged receivables. So in that regard, Darius, you might want to cut a deal whereby you pay them 60 to 70 cents on the dollar for the age receivables, and see if you can't roll it into the purchase price and have the SBA finance it. Here's the kicker, because this is what will help you. See if you can't roll the, let's say he has 100,000 in age receivables, right? Well, just he has 100,000 in age receivables. See if you can't pay 60 or 70,000 more for the business, and see if you can't get that extra 60 to 70,000 that you're purchasing, or the price that you're paying, to get financed in an SBA loan that's going to get amortized over 10 years. So if you think about that for a second, that's $60,000 more in this example that you're going to have to repay over 10 years. Interest, that's only like $8,000 a year, which is like, what is it, $700 a month, which isn't that big of a deal. Now the AR may be larger, but that's the idea. I would basically, Darius, you have to make him feel like he's getting credit for his hard work. So what it really means is you just haven't quite landed the plane yet on a valuation that works for you. But I can tell you that if you come down to the moment, if you like the business and everything else is good, and you come down to a moment of truth where you ask yourself, either I get this on a discount or I pay a premium to get the AR included, pay the premium and get the AR.
So offer the more, to just with the evaluation,
more to get it. Take it from a guy who did the opposite.
Because that's what happened. We did the evaluation, offered, and then he was like, "Well, okay, the age receivable is something different." When he read the purchase agreement, he was like, "Okay, you guys want the age receivables? I don't want to give it to you just like that." He wanted.
The alternative is there's one other thing, because I mean, there's really two ways to go.
He wanted to give it as a loan.
Yeah. I wouldn't have him finance it, because he's going to ask for it to come due in 4 months. That's not enough time. That doesn't solve, because that only kicks the can down the road 4 months. That's why I'd rather you roll it into the SBA loan. The other thing you can do to get the AR to work is, and you got to have a good lawyer for this and a good accountant for this, but you can have him include, he gives you both the AR and the AP, and then you scrub the AP the day before the close and make sure he didn't just stop paying his bills. Because in theory, if he gives you the AP, he might just not pay anybody at all. And then you buy the business, and then you owe everyone and their brother a ton of money, where the AP, the stuff you have to pay, becomes greater than the AR. So it gets a little tricky. This is where having a good M&A attorney in-house, by the way, becomes really relevant. Because if you want to bob and weave the way Darius and I are talking about right now, if you've got your third-party law firm, like I think, was it Carl or Diego brought up? If you got your third-party law firm right now and you want to cut a deal like the one Darius and I are describing, that the lawyer is loving this. Oh yeah, let's work this, let's work that, let's drop AP, let's negotiate this, let's include this vendor, let's cut out this customer. That lawyer's racking fees the whole time, and who's the one losing? You. So this is exactly, Diego, why I prefer, and for everybody here, I recommend, if you can, if it's going to be a more complicated transaction, get your team built in-house so that you don't get burned. But in that regard, there's two things you can do, Darius. Pay premium to get the AR only, or keep the same purchase price, buy the AR and the AP, and then you have to watch the AP like a hawk and almost right
It's the first choice for me, man, or nothing, because
I
don't
agree. That's why I said it.
And in fact, we're already and it's a broker in the way of it. We're already set on all that. All that is handled. The AP is handled at closing. It's just him being like, "Hey, well, okay, as far as the AR, what are we gonna do about it? Should I give a loan or what?" And like you said, I may just pay more. I may just pay more just to grab those age receivables. And if he doesn't want to let them go, then hey, it's a dud. It doesn't make sense for our team. But that's the only thing we've been hung up on. We've been. I mean, it's great company, but if he wants to make it hard, then that's going to be it. But it's just the age receivables, and he was like, "Well, I'll give it to you as
because Darius, I love you. I wish I had more time tonight. I just want to get to as many as I can. But I'll tell you this to conclude, Darius, you're on the right path. I love to hear the progress, and shoot me an email if you want. I'm more than happy to help you out a little bit more on that. But I mean, that's the punchline. I would recommend. Pay a slight premium, get the AR, try to get the purchase agreement inked with hey,
that's it, man. Stay profitable, y'all.
Cheers, partner. Good to see you. All right, we got Colin Barrymore and then Brad Flip Market, IMOH HVAC, and then Abdur Rahim. But first we have Colin Barrymore. Colin, if you're there, let her rip, sir. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. Thanks for having me.
If you got a question, use the hand raise feature, and that basically is your cue to let her rip. But Colin, let her fly, buddy. How can I help you?
Just to follow up on the topic of the industry lawyer. So would you say it's a necessity to have a lawyer with M&A experience for your first acquisition, or just would an in-house industry lawyer be fine enough for just some basic corporate structuring and oversight?
I'm not as worried about the attorney having a bunch of industry experience. Your industry expert will have the industry experience. I want your attorney. My recommendation is your attorney has lots of M&A experience. I mean, we're talking about buying businesses. That will be the number one item that your attorney is going to be doing. We're talking about how to buy a business and the legal steps associated. Like everything Darius and I were talking about, I happen to know Darius is in the logistics business. You didn't hear us. No one even knows that if I didn't tell you. Because nothing Darius and I were talking about had anything to do with the logistics business. It had everything to do with structuring a business acquisition. So your attorney needs to be a business acquisition attorney for that reason. That's where the fees are going to come from. Now, if the attorney happens to be an M&A attorney who happens to have done a lot of deals in your given industry, that is the cherry on top. That's the sweetest pie. I mean, we would love to see that, right? But in that context, the attorney needs to be a business acquisition attorney, an M&A attorney. That's the punchline.
Okay, got it. And so that was mainly asking for the first acquisition. Would you say it's a necessity though for the attorney to have M&A experience?
Yes.
Okay.
You're literally talking about buying businesses. That's like asking if it's necessary for your industry expert to have industry expertise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Tongue in cheek, but it's like, should my attorney be a lawyer? Like, well, does a zebra have stripes?
Okay, got you. That definitely answers it for me.
Yeah, that one's black and white. There's no debate in that one.
Okay, and all right, well then follow up, because I have an in-house lawyer with industry experience. What would you recommend I do going forward? As far as, should I drop this lawyer and pick up one with M&A?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool.
Not a debate. You need your attorney to have. Now, look, I mean, if you love this lawyer and you think he can help you in another way, it's not to say having two lawyers couldn't be potentially useful. But I can tell you definitively, you need an M&A attorney if you're going to buy businesses.
Okay, that works. All right, thank you.
Yep, over now. All right. Brad Flip It Market.
What's good, Jay? I got an off-market detailing business that I'm with.
Hey, real quick, if you're sorry, but if you'll mute yourself. The hell? Time out. 1 second.
That ain't me.
I know. I'm not saying it's you. I don't know who it is. There we go. That's better. All right, let her rip. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, so I got an off-market detailing business I've been working with. They're doing about 15K a month, 180K a year. I just wanted to ask, my first question is, do I need to look at this like fixing and flipping a house, adding SOPs and marketing to it to maybe juice up the how much they make in a month and then look for an exit? Because it's off market, it ain't nothing that's on no websites. It ain't through no broker or nothing like that. It's just like somebody I know who's actually doing it. They got great contracts with schools and stuff like that, detailing the schools, outside of schools, and they do mobile washing and stuff like that.
Sure, that's great. Is sorry, I'm getting
Mic check.
See, it's only me that's doing the feedback, but don't screw it. I'm just going to talk around it. So here's the punchline. The fact that the deal is off market doesn't really influence anything other than the fact that you don't have to pay a broker. Okay, so there's that. Beyond that, any business will ultimately need SOPs to work well. Now, let me ask you this real quick. Is the business doing 15 a month in sales or 15 a month in profit?
In profit.
15 a month in profit. Good.
Yes, sir.
That's a solid business then.
So he's already trusted me to implement the marketing. He haven't even jumped on social media, none of that, nothing yet. I just now got him to do the Google PPC. He ain't even started none of that yet.
Then look, I mean, you have an opportunity. And my advice to you would generally be, see if you can sit down with a guy and structure an agreement in the form of an LOI, a letter of intent, where you're paying about 3 times yearly profit. So you said he's doing 12 a month or 15 a month?
Yep.
So then what's 15 times 12? 180, I think you said?
Yep, correct.
So then we're looking to pay 180 times 3, which is what, 540?
Looks like it, yeah, times 3. Yep, 540.
So that's about what we're looking to buy that business for. And
now how would I get
Yes.
Now how would I get this? Do I need to wait to do I need to implement all the things that I'm talking about before? I mean, after I get it, or do I need to help him juice it and then get a piece of the business and then exit with him? Which way should I do that?
Look, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, I mean, honestly, you could build a partnership deal and help him grow his business, and then, like, you could strike a consulting equity agreement where you basically say, "Hey,
and he's
look,
doing this with one van," and I remember you saying that most of these businesses need to have at least 4 or 5 vans. So
I definitely is he doing the work himself?
He just now got two people to work in his truck, and he finally getting out of that first truck.
Got it. Yeah, look, it's kind of more of a question of what do you have the appetite for? Do you want to get in on the ground floor and buy it for cheap and grow it yourself and build it yourself?
I'm kind of looking to push him to be CEO, and I work above the business instead of on and in it.
I respect that. Does the guy have clean tax returns?
Yep.
Do you think he would go for owning 15 or so % of the company?
If he got a little exit money.
Well, you could buy out, say, 85% of his shares. So you pay him 450 or 475,000 ish for 85% of the equity. The SBA will now do that deal. He keeps 15%. So he gets the better part of a $500,000 cash out. He retains a little piece of the action so that you two guys together can grow this thing.
Because once I implement the SOPs, I want him to be field training, right?
I love how you're thinking. Yeah. I think you're onto something. I think in the context of what we're talking about, I would try to, now that I'm thinking about it a little more, I would try to buy about 85% of the company. Keep it
using the SBA.
Using the SBA. Keep his share under 20. Otherwise, he's gonna have to personally guarantee.
Okay.
And that's what I would do.
Now, quick question. Now he's getting. I hope I ain't saying too much, but he getting his his tire shine for because he do mobile and home detailing, right?
Okay.
So he getting his tire shine from a damn flea market who's from he's put this guy at the flea market's put this concoction together that's the greatest tire shine he's ever seen, but they don't want him to be an affiliate. Can I not just send that to a lab and find out what's in it?
Now you're asking me to comment on copyright law.
All right, I ain't say that.
and I am not a copyright attorney. So
right.
Look,
what's the best? Would sell? I guess my biggest question is: would selling the tire shine after he does these washes for these mobile washes for those specific jobs, so they don't have to see him so much. Do you think that would be a great thing to do, to be able to implement? Maybe start selling that online or something like that. Do you think that would be a good move?
I think so, but I would have to know to say definitively. I mean, you're talking about kind of a clever business plan, but it requires more questions than we probably have time to do here. But I will tell you this, that buying out 85% and keeping the guy engaged as being your trainer / CEO, that I know definitively. That could be a really great play for you if you believe in the business and you like this guy. Now you gotta like him and trust him. Otherwise, you have 15% of your cap table taken up by a guy that you don't like or respect. Okay, so anytime we do a partnership deal, it's really important that we feel good about who we're doing the deal with.
Yeah, I feel like he can go.
Okay. Good deal. All right. We've got, I appreciate it, partner. Appreciate the question. We've got Abdur Rahim, HVAC, and Eunice.
Blood.
Abdir, are you there? Abdur, excuse me. Abdur Rahim. You have your hand? Abdur, if you're going to let her rip, now would be the time.
Yeah, I am here.
Okay. How can I help you, partner? What's going on? Abdur, are you going to ask a question? By the way, while I let you get ready,
okay.
Brad Flip at Market.
Yeah. I can ask the question. Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was Brad. I was hearing myself talk the whole time I was talking to you, Brad. It was making me go crazy. So thank you for thank you for making me feel like I was getting schizophrenia in front of 50 or some odd people we got on the Zoom call. I really appreciate that as an aside.
You handled it well, brother.
I was like, dude, I'm freaking out here trying to keep it chill. But anyways, all right, Abdur Rahim, how can I help you, partner?
Hi. So I'm actually from Toronto, and I'm trying to buy a business in US now.
Okay. Are you a US citizen?
Pardon?
Are you a US citizen?
No, I'm not. I'm Canadian citizen.
Okay. The punchline in your case is basically, if you want to buy a business here in the States, you can do it. But you will, if you do an SBA loan, I believe you'll need another partner who is a citizen. I believe.
I have my brother, sister, everybody's there.
Okay.
So I can bring them as my partner.
Is he a US citizen?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, then you've got the necessary ingredients. I forget, I'm not an immigration guy, so I forget the exact setup, but I think he needs
to. That we will solve it different when it comes. My question to you is today, I'm trying to buy a steel fabrication business.
Okay.
And there is two kinds of steel. One is the structural steel, miscellaneous steel, and then the rebar. Okay. I don't know, you heard the name.
I'm familiar, but I'm certainly no expert.
Yeah, so there is a some businesses like a 1 to 5 million, a small scale.
Okay.
Some is one is in the Biz Buy Sell website now. It is asking, they are telling they have a EBITDA 5 million.
Okay.
And they did not say what is will be the selling price. So my question is that to get that kind of 5 million EBITDA, how much minimum I need cash from my side?
Many millions. Are you have you ever done a deal before?
No.
Are you
I'm building one factory here in Toronto now.
Sure. But real quick, are you very wealthy? Excuse me, but I'm going to cut to the chase here real quickly. Would you consider yourself extremely wealthy? Like what I'm
No, I'm not.
Okay, that's a big.
I say my net worth will be under 10 million.
Okay, well, that's probably better than most people on the call. Fair play if you're better part of 10 million. But nevertheless, I just want you to know you're going after a business that's probably worth 30 to 50 million dollars.
Okay.
Okay, so in the context of 30 to 50 million, if it's doing 5 million in EBITDA, you might be able to get 10 to 15 million in debt on that business. You're going to need to raise the better part of 20 to 40, maybe 20 to 40 million in cash. That is no joke.
Okay, yeah, 20 million is not a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is not out of my range then. So forget it. So another is, now I saw that it is asking like 3 million, how much I need in USA, minimum, how much cash I have to bring in there.
For a $3 million business?
Yeah.
How much?
3 million, they are asking. Their EBITDA is 800,000.
800,000 EBITDA, they're asking 3 million?
Yeah.
I'd have to do some math, but maybe a couple 100,000. If you wanted the lowest amount possible, you could a couple 100,000, maybe a 500,000. You could probably go even less if you wanted, and it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be
If the limit is 500,000, can I mean, is it possible to get the funding and other thing from the bank?
Oh yeah, if the business has 800,000 in EBITDA, and the tax returns are clean, you can get the better part of that 3 million from the SBA, and then you could either self-fund the equity. You know, if you have the better part of a 10 million in net worth, and you know, assuming you have a couple 100,000 liquid, you could do that yourself, or you can.
Yeah, 500. I am talking if I put 500 cash there, and rest I have to put from my bank. And this kind of scenario, how can you help me out?
Gosh. Well, I mean, I can help you with the structure of the SBA loan, but I mean, to be honest with you, I could.
They are asking the price, but I don't know. I just look at their information, the sheet, and I don't know their price is right or wrong.
It sounds right. I mean, look, 800 times 3 is 2.4. 800 times 4 is 3.2. They're asking just under 4 times EBITDA. That's a little.
Yeah, just under 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
3.5 something, I say.
Yeah, it's like 3.75. I'd like it to be a little lower, but it's not a terrible price. I mean, it depends on the quality of the business, of course, right?
Okay, yeah.
As far as how to, like, of course, I could help you, and I have clients, and you've heard some of them talk, and I could help you, but I could also just advise you to watch. If you type my name, Jason Paul Rogers, SBA 955 deal structure, and then if you type my name, Jason Paul Rogers, 75-15-55 deal structure. Watch those videos. I mean, that's generally the deal structure I would advise. If you want me to walk you through every step, then sure, my team can talk about that. But I mean, just as far as providing the general point of view I have, those videos talk about a couple of deal structures that work, that keep your equity contribution quite low, that give you a good chance at getting the deal accepted and then being able to get it financed.
Okay. And in general, how long it takes to close a deal, this kind of deal?
From the time you get the deal under contract, you could close it in between 60 to 90 days if you're getting after it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if so we are talking today, what could be your role if I need some help from you? What could be, what can you do?
There's a couple of things I can do, but I don't feel comfortable. Look, this is about answering questions, not selling my services. I mean, the short of it is I can either work with you very closely, and that's more expensive, or I can work with you on a weekly basis on a small membership where there's a few people, and that's less expensive. But it's generally, if you're going to work with me, there's going to be a 4+ figure cost. So, you know, if that's worth it for you, then great. Look, we can talk with that offline. For here, if there's any last kind of immediate questions you have as far as how to go about this, I'm happy to answer that. Otherwise, I'd rather answer other questions from people and not really pitch my services here. That's not the goal of this, but I appreciate the inquiry.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. You go to the website, jasonpaulrogers.com, schedule a call, and we'll have a conversation. If there's other questions, I
So
see.
how can I reach you one-on-one?
How can you?
How can I reach you if I need to talk to you one-on-one? And what is the procedure here?
If you want to shoot me an email at rogersjason@rocketmail.com,
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat. But I generally don't do one-on-one consults before I'm working with somebody. But if you have an email, you shoot a couple questions or whatever. Oh, whoops, I shot a direct question. One sec. rogersjason@rocketmail. That's my direct email. Okay, let me go to the chat here. Let's see if there's questions in the chat, or if you have questions. Otherwise, let me know. Otherwise, I do have another call here in a few minutes, so I will be.
No, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Nice to meet you, partner. We'll see what happens. I see here. Can you talk a little bit about buying a business through a syndication, then scaling it as a search fund and eventually growing it into an even bigger entity, such as getting into the realm of private equity? Is that a good goal to have? Yeah, I think it's a great goal to have. That's basically what I've done. What a syndication means is basically it's when you raise the equity from a number of different people, and then you raise the debt from an SBA lender or a commercial lender, and you can set up a syndication so that you keep the majority of the equity and keep the control, therefore, of the business, but that you have your partners, your investors, help you buy the business if you don't have, like our friend here who has the better part of 10 million in net worth, and not everybody on this call has that. So like when I got started, I had no net worth. So that was how I got started, by, getting a couple of investors to help with the down payment for these businesses, and then finding the deal and negotiating the purchase price and negotiating the debt and doing everything, buying it and then showing up and stabilizing the business. And it's a great way to make a lot of money, especially if you don't have any, which is really where a syndication is the best. If you have a meaningful net worth, then you can do like what our individual prior was talking about, where he's ostensibly going to kick in the down payment himself and proceed in that way, where he doesn't need a syndication. He doesn't need other investors because he can be the investor himself. So a lot of how you proceed, a lot of it comes down to where are you at personally, and that's a real question to ask yourself as a starting point. Let me see if there were other questions. If you have any other questions, let me know. Sean says, thank you for your earned wisdom. Sean, it's a pleasure, partner. And shoot me an email. Sean, shoot me an email and let me know if you have other questions. And those of you as well, I put my email in the chat. If you want me to answer more questions, I'll do my damnedest to answer them there. And then somebody writes here, get him to keep 25% and see if you'll do the personal guarantee. Start high. This goes back to the deal where we were talking about the 15% partnership. And that's actually it's not a bad way to ask to start. If you feel like you can make that ask and not get the guy to completely jump off a cliff, that's actually not a bad idea. And I think with that, I got a call here in 4 minutes. I don't see anybody absolutely jumping out of their bones to get a question asked. So I think I answered the core ones.
Yeah, quick, one more last question for me, brother.
I got a question.
Imagine that. I start sounding like I'm signing off. Everyone jumps in.
Go ahead, bro.
Okay, let it rip.
Okay, my hands is up. Okay. A quick question. I'm going through the final stage of, I think I'm going to end up buying almost 90% there, but I got turned down with SBA in about 3 SBA because the seller was just using it as a tax shelter. So now we're going to phase 2, which is going to be seller financing. I'm trying to see, how do you structure that? I think, that person wants to sell. Right. And I've gone from offering, I would have spent 10% with SBA to now offering 40%, reduce the price. I think it comes to hurt you when you try to file as a negative in your taxes.
Yes.
And how come we cannot have this, flat rate lawyer that you can bring in during the APS? Okay, you know what? Just make sure everything is okay and just pay, I don't know, 500 to 1,000, right? Because I'm just a regular guy that I don't want to in-house M&A, and I don't know why I can shoot you an email, but recommend someone say for 1,000, we can just go through the APA process. I'm looking at the structuring and stuff like that. So,
yeah, look, short answer is most attorneys are not. I hear you. I'd love for attorneys to be that cheap. It just generally is not how that's going to go for you. That's the punchline. Now, can you get a more affordable lawyer? Sure you can. But that's just, yeah, somebody writes here, they charge per the hour. And that's right. And most attorneys, the cheap ones are $300-400 an hour. And it's not just when they're talking to you, it's when they're doing work on your behalf. So yeah, it's a cost of doing business. It's kind of like asking, like, man, why is my electric bill so high? It's like, because, you know, the utilities companies charge that much for electric. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, well, I want a different electrical company. It's like, well, don't we all? But, you know, it is what, you know, there's just some things that are hard to get around. So the one way to get around it is to do what I'm talking about with the equity play. Or you can learn to be an armchair quarterback, which has some risk. I've learned to do that. I mean, I negotiated my gal's deal, and some people said I would fail and I would strike her a terrible deal, because I basically was the lawyer when I helped my gal buy her beauty salon, and everything was fine. But that's because I know my stuff relatively well, right? So if you know your stuff, you can do it yourself, but there's risk there because you're obviously not an Ivy League trained lawyer. You give away equity or you pay the price. I mean, those are your options.
Okay, that's good. Okay, because the top line looks very good. And, you know, just that every time the person filed taxes for the past 3 years, I think that's the reason it was all negative. When you're adding the salary that she was paying herself, you know, and I did the SDE, you know, now I tried to offer the price based on the SDE when they added all this stuff. I think it's a fair price, and I don't mind giving more cash. How do I, the next step, let's say we go through this, because I think
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because I promise this is good for you, even if I'm interrupting. If a business doesn't have tax returns that are clean, how can you really know? If the guy's, in other words, been cooking the books to avoid paying taxes, how do you think you're going to get a good understanding of how profitable that business is?
Oh, good question, man. That's a good question.
It's the question. I don't recommend your first deal be done with a business that has garbage tax returns, period. There's almost no circumstance that makes me change my mind on that, because of what I just asked. How are you going to confirm the earnings of a business that is telling you, I cook my books? When they say they're doing more than what they report on their tax returns, that's what they're telling you. I cook my books so I don't have to pay taxes. Believe me. That's what they're asking you to do. If you want to sign on the dotted line and make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life based on somebody's word, then by all means. But I don't recommend it for what I would like to think is pretty obvious, self-evident reasoning.
That's true.
So I don't think this conversation is a useful one for that reason. I would look quality, folks. My view on buying businesses is simple. Buy good businesses. Buy businesses that you can bet on. Buy businesses that you can believe in. Buy businesses with good, clean financials that show profit year after year after year, consistent profit that get reported on their tax returns. Buy businesses you think can help you move up the ladder of life. Why? This isn't gambling. We're not going to the casino. We're not buying penny stocks. We're trying to buy solid, tried, true businesses. You know, and I teach people mostly in the United States. So that's what I recommend. Now, you don't have to take my advice by all means. I'm just a guy on the internet talking, right? But I'd like to think I'm a guy talking on the internet who's just trying to give you some sincere advice because I've lived it and I'm breathing it and I do it. And why the hell would I want you to get screwed, right? So you process my words and make what of it as you will. But that's my advice, man. I wouldn't mess with it.
All right. Thank you so much. You know, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Hey, yep. Jason, I got a question for you.
Yep.
If you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Hey, how you doing? I got into the meeting a little bit late here. Congratulations on all your accomplishments that you've made and everything like that with your businesses and all that. I just had a quick question about board members. Now, I do follow the Dan Pena method mostly, and I was following him first, and then I started following you, and I kind of like your strategy with the three partners that you would have to kind of back you up, get into business. Now, I've been trying to do this for a while now, and I'm kind of really on the fence on which way to go with this. I know that your method is just to get an industry expert, accountant, and lawyer.
Yep.
Now, is that only for somebody with your kind of credentials that you have, with your kind of a background to?
That's how I
to go
recommend you
forward with this?
start. That's how I would have started that's what I would have done had I been starting from scratch.
Okay. I mean, even though, is that, with, with nothing, with no kind of a background in buying businesses?
I
or
was
anything like
broke.
that?
I was broke and I didn't know anything about buying businesses when I started.
Sure.
Yeah, like
Sure.
I'm talking about, look, but even if you have some experience, I don't think it really matters that much. I understand your question. I respect your question.
Okay.
I actually don't agree with the premise from which you're asking it from, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
First of all, I really believe it's about buying a good business in the right industry that's recession resistant, that's AI proof, that's Amazon proof, that's in a good local market that's growing. Like, in other words, let's buy something of quality. I think we can all totally agree that's a good idea. Okay, great. So
I understand that, but I don't know. I mean, you're going to be taking more of a challenge if you don't have people backing you up.
I did. Okay. So I know Dan Pena believes in the chairman and like 6 advisors
Right.
and all of that. Here's what happens. You ever been in a school project?
Yes.
You know what happens when you have 8 people in a school project?
A lot of opinions.
A lot of opinions. And does everyone do equal amounts of work?
No, probably about 3 or 4, probably about half of the group, if that.
There you go. 3 or 4. You plus 3, 4. There you go. Like, that's just how it cuts at the end of the day. And the problem is if you go after that many people, you have a hard time doubling down on picking the right people. And I think what often happens when people build a huge team is they feel like the consensus will save them.
Sure.
But I don't trust in groupthink. I don't believe that you need more voices screaming at you at all times to help you make decisions. I think you have to believe in the process that you're following. You're buying a good business in a good industry, and there's a couple of core factors that are necessary when buying a business, no matter how much experience you have.
Okay. So,
you need to know that industry cold.
Yeah.
Have to know the industry, have to know your business. You have to be able to do the contract work and all the legal stuff, and you got to understand the numbers. That is what business buying is. Like, anything else is just, that's it. And there's really, like, those are the components. Know your operation, know how to legally do it, and make sure the numbers back it up. That's buying a business. So I don't really think having a whole bunch of people that all are kind of wearing a unique hat. The bank doesn't care. That was where I did what you're talking about. I don't know if you know my story that well. I don't expect it.
I do.
Okay, I did exactly what you're describing to start.
Sure.
Okay. And what I found is the bank doesn't care. 80% of the people on my team, I had like 10 people, 11 people on my team. Only 2 or 3 of them were doing all the work that were actually helpful. And so why did I give away my equity to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people when only 3 of them are doing the work?
Well, let me explain to you. Well, I believe that the reason why Dan Pena is saying that is for, he has. Then you would have a
perception
a history record going down the line.
The bank doesn't care.
As the deals get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then
look, I know the Pena philosophy, and with due respect, I'm not going to debate it. I'll just put it to you simply: the bank doesn't care. They care about. By the way, the bank only cares about one person.
Okay.
Or only one type of person, the operator, the guy who actually knows how to run the thing.
Well, when you're going to buy $100 million, $50 million business after a certain amount of acquisitions that you've done, does that plays a bigger role?
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. This is
more
fun.
Partners.
Let's talk about it. Would you rather raise equity? Would you rather bring on advisors and give away equity when you have a track record or when you have no track record? Where do you think you're going to get the better deal in the marketplace? When do you think you're going to be able to recruit a higher quality individual? When you have 0 deals under your belt, or once you have 3 or 4 deals under your belt? When?
I understand that as well. I mean,
it's not even close. It's like, dude, it's not even a fucking, it's not even a debate. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
Like, you will get a 10 times better applicant with 1/10 the equity once you've done a few deals and proven yourself. If you want to go take over the universe and do $50 million deals and all of that.
Yeah.
By the way, I have the same ambitions and I'm moving in that direction. Then I can tell you, like, and I mean this with respect. I get a little fiery just because I've seen a lot of people really bad decisions, and I believe in what I say. Okay.
Yeah.
With respect, you've never done a deal, I assume. I promise you
No.
I'll be able to get a better advisor for less equity than you will. Not because I'm better looking. You're probably more handsome than I am. Not because I'm anything other than I have a track record where
Right.
you're where I used to be, where you don't. So
Right.
in that regard, why not establish a proper foundation with the essentials, get yourself real momentum, and then if you want to go dominate the universe, you have an extra 20 or 30% more equity to play with than you would have had you followed that model.
So now following that model of only 3 people, you know, your methodology basically, now will that hurt you in the long run, as in starting with a bigger deal and have, you know, a bigger team, having more of a kind of a notoriety kind of thing going on, based just you know, in the future? Will that hurt you, or will that kind of hold you back from getting, you know, people?
No. With due respect, I think we're about done here, because like,
Sure.
no, we're about solving one thing: build a track record. Once you have a track record, everything's easier. Like I said prior,
Yep.
I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like, you can just like unmute this for everyone and they can just like vote, or you can just put in the chat, like, respect, will somebody who's never done a deal have more credibility, or somebody who's done deals?
Right.
Like, that's it. Like, the chat's telling you, like, okay, we're moving on. I agree. I appreciate it, but
Yeah, bro. I wanted to ask about the one quick question. If I wanted to change pricing, the way this company is doing pricing to a subscription base, would that make it be worth more if I'm trying to exit it? Quick question.
Say that again. If there's a subscription model.
Instead of doing like $200 per car, $500 per house, what if I put them on a subscription based offer? Would that last better? Would that be a better?
Can you mute yourself so I don't hear me echoing? Thank you. Mute yourself if you don't mind, partner. Yeah, you're a good business guy. Yes, you've got the right idea. Yes, it would. If you do it, you're a smart cat, Mr. Brad Flip Market. You've got the right flavor.
I'm gonna email you, brother.
The subscription model is what private equity groups just love, because it is repeat revenue, baby. That's why the HVAC business is blowing up, because you put somebody on a maintenance plan, you charge them $22 a month, and you do that times 10,000 Mrs. Jones or Tom, you know, Robbins, or whatever the heck the residential homeowner, and you boom, 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 and it's just tons of reoccurring revenue, and it's safe. It's safe for the business.
This guy got 300 clients, so that's what I'm gonna look to do. Put him on a small little subscription-based bet.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, mute yourself because you're making me echo. I do appreciate the question though. All right, last one. Whoever first, let her rip.
Jason, you got me?
Yep, you're your last.
All right, what's up, man? How are you? I've been following some of your content for quite some time.
Cool.
I'm actually a lawyer in the Tampa Bay area myself. I'm not practicing. I'm focused on doing acquisitions during the daytime, and I'm working nights in order to do that. I've got a fucking stellar team behind me right now. There's 8 people, including myself, a couple, you know, heavy hitters in the accounting world, legal world. I mean, just notable, like world-class people. I've onboarded outside accounting and as well as legal. I'm touching base with a lot of banks that do some work in my healthcare vertical. Now, this may be a personal question, and I completely understand if you don't want to disclose this, but are there some banks in the area in Tampa Bay or the state that you would disclose? I mean, at least their initials that I could reach out to?
You know, okay. If I knew you, maybe. I do have a Rolodex, and you know, there's 30 or 40 some odd people on this right now. And the reason my Rolodex generally answers the phone when I call them is because I don't just share their number to anybody under the sun. So yeah, I do have
not the actual partner, not the lending officer, but just the initials of the banks. And I'll call every fucking bank. I actually have a list of the 500 banks in the area, and I've been making my way down. And surprisingly, I thought I was going to get to, you know, 300 before I get some traction, but it only took me, you know, the 7th bank. But
whoever writes B of A is funny. No, B of A is not. That's, I don't know if BOA is, if BOA, Bank of America, is a troll. That's funny. Yeah, no, I'm not ready to share my Rolodex. If I don't know you, that's just the reality of it. If I know you, then it's a different conversation, and I'm not going to pitch my stuff too hard, but that's with people that I build a relate. By the way, I don't even make this promise for my own clients, because I even tell people who pay me, if you aren't taking this serious and you're a dork and you're not investing in understanding the language of finance and understanding the game, I don't make promises to give my Rolodex out to anybody. There's no price you can pay me to make me give me contacts. Now, if you prove to be a proper individual and you conduct yourself like a professional, then I'll happily share my Rolodex, because I'm happy to connect good people with good people. But I entirely operate with my Rolodex with regards to you being credible and deserving of. It's not about paying me or not paying me. It's about being the right guy. Now, it just so happens that people who work with me get to know me better, and then I'm more likely to share my Rolodex because I'm speaking with you every single week. But that's the context from which I operate. Look, on that note, I got to roll. I actually have a client I got to talk to, and then I got a job to go walk tonight. So it's going to be a late night for me. And that's all I got to say. I really
thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for being here. And I'm going to put this on YouTube. It'll be there. Thanks for Mr. Echo Man, who was making me Paul Brad flip it, who was making me think I was freaking out. Thanks.
Let's go, Jay.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for the
Thanks, Jason.
stuff where man, I mean, I think you're a little on the wrong side of the river there with your thoughts, but you know, it is what it is, and I respect the debate and the healthy conversation. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. Appreciate it.